your avatar. But how did sort of who else contributed to that, and how did their contribution sort of change what the show looked like?
That's a great question, and it's really nice to give props to these people because, uh, 50 people just in Burbank were making Hey Arnold, and that's significant. And if that's part of it, once you've convinced everybody, come on, like let's make this thing. I also think there's a great feedback loop of everybody, the crew, seeing the episodes that when they came back. Can't tell you what a lift that is. You've been toiling away for months, and then you see the finished cartoon, you're like, oh, woo, that's what we were working on. And so it started. I built the crew. I had met Tuck Tucker a couple years before I got the chance to make Hey Arnold. Actually, I met him in the early when I first started working in LA in '88. So that's actually a few years before. And he and I were both working at Bob Rogers' company. They made theme park animation and kind of themed entertainment. And Tuck was boarding, and I was directing something, and I could see immediately I just loved the way this guy drew. And he was a great guy too, super sweet, wonderful. We became friends because he was such a cool guy. And so when I got the chance to make Hey Arnold, I literally was like, I had worked on Rugrats with Steve Vixton and Joe and Salabaher, and I had been doing a little bit of art with Tuck Tucker, and we had all come together on Rugrats, really. Tuck was around. I met him even before Rugrats, like I say, in '88. It was 1990 that we all crewed up on Rugrats, but all of us were there. Raimi Mooskies was there. A lot of wonderful artists happened to be. It's that kind of cool thing where you go completely random, man. On one floor in Klasky Chupo, all these people are working and seeing each other and walking up and down Highland and getting lunch and stuff. And it's like, hey, who knew that for the next 10, 20 years, we'd be doing a bunch of stuff together. And it's just great. That was the crew, that little core group. And then we just added people after that. Jamie Mitchell came on. As soon as things got real, I made the pilot with just me and Tuck and some artists, a couple board artists. And Jim Lang, of course, let's not leave him out of this. It's a very important part of the collaboration. But we all came together to make the pilot and just that little group. Then when the series happened and they ordered 20 half hours in January 1995, then we had to add 40 more people or 45 more people. And first thing we did was we hired Melissa Wunsch, who was our line producer. And then they literally built a schedule and a budget with Nickelodeon. We added Jamie Mitchell right after that as a supervising director because he had show running experience. And so he and I probably most ran Hey Arnold. And Tuck, you would have thought of Tuck. I wanted Tuck to be like the supervising director immediately, and they were like, no, he's barely directed, so he can be your star director, and Jamie will supervise. And it was a really good decision. Jamie was a very production oriented. He understood the pipeline in ways that I had no idea. I hadn't done that stuff yet. I'd only been working as a board guy and a director, and did a bit of writing. And so that group I just described, there are many, many more that came on. Clint Bond, who came on to do character design for me, and Brian Mark, who just totally ran layout and background. Brian was like a wise, he was totally like the guy to go to. And so we had all those people. I mean, I'm already up to about 10, right? And there's 40 more to go. But in that order, we just added. I made that pilot with Tuck and Jim Lang, basically. Oh, and I shouldn't leave out Steve and Joe. They wrote that script with me. And when we had finished writing the script, Steve and Joe and I then were like the writing team of Hey Arnold. Did I get everybody? Any other names that you're thinking of that you're like, what did they do?
That's amazing. That kind of leads into my next question, which is more about so you talked about Arnold as your avatar. Well, how did you kind of develop and design all the other characters? How did you think through that and their relationships to each other?
Yeah, it was very basic when I started. The whole Arnold-Helga relationship was not even evident in those little shorts that I made. She was just his torturer. And it was Lisa Graining who said, why don't you, what if she was really in love with him? What if she was secretly in love with him? said, yeah, you're right. That would be the best if she acted like she hated him and she really adored him. And which I actually thought was really true about childhood too. One of the many things about how childhood kids can be cruel to each other is that they can bully the person that they're trying to be affectionate with. And I'd experienced it as a kid. I thought Helga was a perfect. For me, she was all those kind of girls that either I liked and it was unrequited, or like me and it was unrequited. Just like not disconnect. And so yeah, that's Arnold was based on that. I'm sorry though, you actually asked a different question than what you said.
Oh yeah, no, I just was wondering kind of how you thought through any given character, like
Yeah, the rest of them.
yeah, the design of them, like their personalities.
Yeah, it's like we made them kind of in the order that they were needed. When I made those little shorts, I only needed two bullies, and it was like they were just three in a picture, so it was Helga and Harold, and that's funny because it really was. That's all I knew about them. I'll make a girl who looks really mad, and I'll make a kind of a large, mean guy, and they're both gonna knock him. It was I hadn't given it any more thought than that. And then when it was time to make the pilot, we got to put that whole squad is in the pilot. That I think of about 12 basic kids. If you look at the cover, there's 12 kids, and that's kind of where it's at now. I just like that idea. In my mind, it's funny to have a squad of 12, and I like having a squad of 4, which is Arnold and Gerald and Helga and Phoebe. And so you could call that group what I had to make next. And those are mostly designed by me. I think Tuck designed Curly. Hilariously, he designed Curly when we were making the pilot, and he was like, I ran out of ideas, so I just put like a bowl cut on Helga's